So, we all want Clash Royale to be as balanced of a game as possible, right? After all, Reddit, YouTube, and Twitter are all crowded with people making posts and tweets about cards they want buffed and nerfed. We also get monthly balance changes in the game to help tone down some of those overpowered cards. Obviously, the community then goes back and complains about those balances over and over again, and the cycle just continues. However, sometimes it actually might even be good for Clash Royale to be unbalanced. Now, of course, if an archetype or deck is way out of hand, it's obviously going to get nerfed, but a subtle imbalance in the Clash Royale card system might actually be beneficial for the game. Hey guys, Legendaray here, and today we are going to be discussing whether an unbalanced meta is actually better than a perfect balance in the game. In fact, I'm actually going to try and explore why an imbalanced meta can not only keep the game fresh for players, but also improve the skill of the player base in a more unique manner. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 1. A perfectly balanced game creates a very fixed strategy. First off, I'm going to try and explain how a perfectly balanced game might not be the best for a massive player base in a game such as Clash Royale. So let's go ahead and give an example of the epitome of a perfectly balanced game, chess. Chess, as you know, is a game that has stayed the same for over 1,000 years, so obviously this leads to there being a pretty fixed strategy in the game. Obviously, there are thousands of different variations, but nevertheless, the overall goal is pretty simple. Gain control of the center, protect your king, start picking off your opponent's pieces, and then finally checkmate. Now, what this means is that most chess players are following an already set game plan. They can study for so long just to master a game by following a set strategy that they can master. In fact, when you're able to create a computer program or an engine that can consistently beat even the best players in the world, you know that there clearly is a winning formula in the game, and you just need to try and mimic that to the best of your ability. A system like this just won't work in Clash Royale. Sure, a perfectly balanced game sounds cool and all, but is that really what we want? In fact, I don't remember the date exactly, but sometime early to middle of last year, Clash Royale was actually in one of the most balanced states ever. And what happened? The game became stale. Clash Royale began to become more of a rock, paper, scissors game. The game became much more matchup dependent, and strategy became more and more streamlined as only a few decks were being used, and that was pretty much it. The best strategies were being calculated and figured out for each archetype. Again, this was a state where the game was at a pretty big low too. People became quickly bored of the game as they simply didn't enjoy the super matchup dependent aspect of Clash Royale. Number 2. An imbalance creates a meta. Clash Royale has had a meta for as long as the game has been live, and this is obviously due to the game being in a constant state of imbalance. First off, especially with the now almost 90 cards in the game is incredibly hard to perfectly balance. Some cards will simply be better than others, and with the help of the monthly balances in game, this evolves that balance over time. Now what this does is that it causes the entire player base to evolve. For example, take the recent 3 Musketeer nerf from 9 to 10 Elixir. Sure, it received a ton of backlash, but what happened? The meta evolved from running 3 Musketeers to running more Musketeer. This then freed up Lava Hound and Royal Giant to become more meta, which frees up more P.E.K.K.A. control, which frees up more Hog Cycle, and so on and so forth. You get the deal. The point is, these balances, although not perfect by any means, can actually benefit the game. By constantly switching certain aspects of the meta, the player base is forced to diversify, experiment with different strategies, and even create their own. Especially with the over 70 billion decks that you can create, players can constantly be developing their own strategies and plays, master them, and then move on. Number 3. Cyclical Balance. Now this just continues to support the benefit of an imbalanced game. It's basically what happens when the metagame evolves on its own even without a balance change. The easiest example for this in Clash Royale is when a new card comes out. When a new card comes out, it's often seen as overpowered, and while unfortunately many card releases from Supercell have truly been overpowered, usage rates will initially spike and then drop. Why is this? Obviously because people are learning to counter the card. When a deck or an archetype becomes meta, obviously a ton of people are gonna start using it. That's basically what a meta is. What this results in is also another group of people making new decks that counter this meta deck. Then loads of people switch to that deck, and it basically goes on, and it means that the meta is going to be constantly evolving and forcing players out of their comfort zone to experiment with newer decks. So there we go. That is my argument on why a slightly imbalanced metagame in Clash Royale can actually be a really good thing. Now obviously, many of the times a card is just flat out broken and does need an actual nerf from Supercell, but like I said, some cards being better than others simply does benefit the game and improves the input of the player base as well, with players being forced to come up with new strategy and decks. So, what do you think about this topic? Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But unfortunately, guys, that's all I've got time for in today's video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like down below, as well as a subscription to my channel. And as always, this has been Legendaray, and I'm signing off. See you guys next time.